Hey, this is Anthony Ha with TechCrunch, and I am here with Clint Gordon-Carroll and Alan Peacock from Space Monkey. And so you guys actually have like pretty interesting titles at the company. What are your titles?
So I am Captain Science, actually. I kind of lead the engineering efforts.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that interesting, but chief product guy. I mean, it's the only way
You threw in the guy.
The only
so
way I
make
can
it
get a
little more
C-level title around this place is throw in the guy, and then they were like, okay, you can be chief product guy. So.
And you're also both co-founders.
Yep,
Well.
both co-founders of Space Monkey.
So tell us a little bit about what Space Monkey is.
Yeah, you bet. So Space Monkey is kind of our way of disrupting the cloud. We want to take the data center, or take the cloud out of the data center, allow people to store large amounts of data, terabytes of data, at a very low cost, affordable way.
And the way you do that is through these devices.
Right, so this device is the data center in your house. It talks to other devices like this to provide a reliable storage network, and gives all of the cloud benefits without the really high cost of the data center.
So talk a little bit more about kind of how it actually works, and then what are the big benefits for the user?
Sure. So how it works is you get this device, you plug it into your house. It comes with a subscription, $10 a month. You get a terabyte of space, which is about 10 times cheaper than you would pay normally in the cloud. You get a piece of client software that installs on your laptop or on your mobile devices. You can drop data into it just like you would any of these other cloud services. You can share it, access it remotely. In the background, that device is safekeeping the data. It's making copies of it after it's encrypted, storing it out to the network so that even if your own device fails, or if lots of the devices fail, it's still safe.
So I think the shorthand that I've used and I've seen other people use is sort of a P2P Dropbox. I mean, does that seem pretty fair?
Yeah, I mean, it's a quick way of making it, boiling down the technology behind it. But there's more to it. But yeah, it's basically the ability to share and store data, and on a very distributed peer-to-peer network. So.
And I know this is another thing that you guys have had to talk about before, but I think it's sort of an important point about. Tell us a little bit more about who you see your user base as, because I mean, there are a lot of people who use services like Dropbox. It's not just a Dropbox,
sure.
but services like that who maybe have issues or don't have issues, but it's not like there's like necessarily a sense that there's a lot of people sort of saying that there are big shortcomings.
Yeah, so the biggest one that we hear is from people who have a lot of data. So they've got several hundred gigs. It's just too expensive and too slow to get that into the cloud. And so with a device like this, the transfer is fast. You don't have to leave your laptop on, uploading to the cloud or downloading from the cloud, because it moves quickly over your own network to that device. And then in the background, you shut that down. In the background, that's doing the magic for you of making the copies out there so that it's safe.
Mm-hmm. So people with lots of data, that's not necessarily a specific, that's just sort of a broad.
Yeah, it's a very generic. Yeah, no, it's a very generic market opportunity. But the reason why it's an interesting market opportunity is the user-generated content is growing exponentially. People are taking photos and videos with their smartphones. People are moving more, even away from laptops, to mobile devices where their homes are, a couple tablets and some smartphones, and those have inherently smaller storage space, but they're generating content. So where does that content go? It makes a lot of sense to have a place that can be accessible, central, shareable, for that type of family. So it's a generic market, but we see a trend, and that trend is the amount of data people are generating or creating over time.
So you guys launched, or in the sense of being at the launch conference and sort of announcing that you exist a little over a year ago. So can you kind of talk about what you've accomplished in the intervening year, and sort of when we might actually be able to buy one of those?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have built an incredible amount of technology over this past year. We have focused a lot on building a system that lets us not only keep these things online and keep them running, keep them safe, but lets us monitor them, make sure that they're healthy, as well as be able to remotely update the software on these without the user ever needing to download something or update the software themselves. So that's all been rolled out. The storage network itself has been rolled out as well. We've got devices spread from coast to coast, as far west as Hawaii, as far east as Boston, and this network is storing data for people, and people are putting content in it. And it's a surprisingly difficult problem. I mean, you'll see this demo that Clint will do. It's simple, right? It shouldn't be surprising. It shouldn't be hard. Mm-hmm. But the amount of stuff that we've had to do behind the scenes to build a peer-to-peer distributed storage system on top of our own hardware with clients for Mac, Windows, Linux, Android, and iOS, and a web client. It's a tremendous amount of work, and we're getting close to release.
Yeah, getting close to release is important. We have a few announcements. Maybe we'll even talk about it here on the show today.
So yeah, what are these?
Well, one of them is we are getting ready to kick off our Kickstarter campaign for pre-orders. We think it's a great platform for getting good communication to early customers, early adopters, understand what they need, some of their needs are, as well as communicating out what the product is, and that should be starting in a few days, a few weeks.
Was that sort of always the plan to have?
Yeah,
a
we
campaign?
definitely. But then when Kickstarter changed the rules on hardware, we had to pull back, and we're like, okay, well, no more. You have to have the product working and ready. You have to be closer in your schedule. Risks have to be reduced, and that's actually been a big piece. I spent some time in China, making sure that production was ready to go. We had to make sure that we had all of our vendors and component suppliers put together, and it's been a lot of work, but it's been great. It means that risk is gone. So when you do Kickstarter and you decide to support this campaign and help us get this product out there, you don't have to worry about like an 18-month wait. Not like any company's done that before, but there won't be that type of wait.
Right. And so in terms of building out that network, so by the time you actually have sort of a product on the market, well, sort of the first customers, they'll be able to sort of turn it on, and there'll be enough of a network that all those advantages will be there. Okay.
Already today, that's in place. We've got enough devices out there that and we have some internal milestones for how many we want to get to before Kickstarter and before this is released to the public.
Yeah, when we first started, we went to Best Buy and we bought a couple of devices that made by larger manufacturers, hacked them, put our own software on them, and we started our own like alpha network based on hardware that we hadn't developed. And now with Kickstarter, the goal is, well, this hardware is a little bit faster than what you can get there, and it's a little bit better. We need the support of the community to help us get into production. These things are, on a small scale are expensive to build. So.
Right. But yeah, let's actually see it in action.
Yeah, you bet.
So we're going to try it out on the laptop, right?
Yeah, you bet. This is my laptop using my Space Monkey, which is in Salt Lake. It's not this one that's on the table. But yeah, here's a web view of my file system. So I've got a documents folder. It's got a variety of other folders, all of our Space Monkey stuff, branding assets, those types of things. If I'm on my desktop, I can go to Space Monkey. I can launch my Space Monkey client, and looks like the resolution has made it a little small, but that's okay. We can
click off. You can get rid of the menu.
Yeah, we can open. Oh, there we go.
There it is.
All right. So I can open the menu here. Open the Space Monkey folder. Just like any other cloud service that has a desktop client, you see a file system view. This is actually, these folders are not on my laptop. They are not cached. They're sitting on my drive in Salt Lake City. So I can go to something like music. I can open folders. I can even point my iTunes folder or iTunes library to this folder, so I can have hundreds and hundreds of gigs worth of music and make it available. So let's see. Let's just grab something here. Open it up.
Try to find something cool.
Yeah, something cool, right? Man, I got 3 kids. I'm so not cool anymore. Sorry about that. So yeah, hit the play button. And that's being streamed from my Space Monkey device. Now, granted, a lot of people may go offline. You might be going on an airplane or something like that.
Right.
We can actually take a file. So let's just go back to the documents folder. Maybe you need a set of documents, online, offline type experience. You can click on something. Let's go to branding assets, or actually, in the design space, we have I've got a folder that has been pinned. So you can right-click on any folder. And you can pin any file that you want to keep on your machine at all times. So that little check mark is showing that it's pinned. So I right-click, hit the Space Monkey, and I can actually unpin this. But I don't. I want to keep it local so that access to that file is always available. And that happens to be a special edition version of the Space Monkey device.
Okay.
And this model is actually really important because we're talking about a terabyte of space, and most laptops, certainly my MacBook Air doesn't have a terabyte of space. So the model that most cloud drives have right now is a full sync of all the data back and forth. That wouldn't work with this model, right? You'd have to exclude a whole bunch of stuff that you normally have access to. So with the pinning that he showed, you have that, but for files that you don't have space for, you have access to those as long as the network's available.
Right. Okay.
And even if the device fails or breaks or gets unplugged, you have the extra copy out in the storage network that you can start accessing and reading from as well. So
Immediately?
Yeah,
Or, okay.
yeah. I mean, there's a little bit of latency there, of
Right.
course, as it's going and grabbing the little tiny pieces and then putting it back.
Right.
But yeah, I
Right.
mean, it should be as quick as it possibly
Yeah,
can.
we want to make sure that you can get to your stuff even if the power has gone off at your house while you're on your business trip, right? And so, like Clint was saying, he's talking to a Space Monkey that's in his house, but really he's talking to the Space Monkey network.
Right.
And so that's composed of not just the device in his house, but all the devices.
Okay. Sounds cool. Well, I look forward to trying it out, and thanks for coming by.
Yeah,
Thanks for
appreciate it.
having us.